Welcome to the Breeders' Cup 2015 Friday card preview presented by Horse Racing Station. In this video, we'll go through the 4 races on the Friday card: the Juvenile Turf, the Dirt Mile, the Juvenile Fillies Turf, and the Distaff. To start off is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Full field of 14 expected to run. The morning line favorite at 7-2 is Simric for John Gosden and William Buick. Simric, last time out, raced in the Grand Quatrième at Longchamp, finishing second by a neck to Ultra. A winner of also the Max Patel Wealth Manager Condition Stakes. That was also with James Doyle aboard. Simric, as a morning line favorite, a little weak, but hard to get past, especially with having a race at that mile. Coming over, John Gosden is shipping both Simric and, of course, ARC winner Golden Horn. Simric's going to be tough to get past, but there is one horse that I think has a chance, and that's an Aero Force. But before we get to Aero Force, we're going to go in post-position order. Some of the key horses in this race. First off, the 7, Raise the Bar. A 2-time starter for Chad Brown. Raise the Bar is from Exceeding Excel out of Dalakani mare Cosmic Fire. Last time out in the Pilgrim Stakes, just faced a lot of trouble. But this time, I believe that if he can get a strong and easy trip, trouble-free, or minimizing trouble, he could show a lot of talent. He won a maiden special weight over Ascot in England, and now coming over, finished third to Isotherm and Azar at a mile and a 16th at Belmont last time out. This is a closer in what could be a paceless race. To me, his second time with Lasix, and he has a strong late kick. Exceeding Excel is a strong sire with juveniles, and if the turf does come up soft with the weather, Raise the Bar could easily fill the role of the winner here. But he'll have to get past the horse right to his outside in Aero Force. Aero Force was the winner of the Bourbon here at Keeneland last time out on yielding turf, which could help, over Camelot Kitten and Sighting Spring, 2 horses that he should face this in the juvenile turf. And he was all out late in the Bourbon, and he took over after taking a 4-wide trip. Very impressive win in the Bourbon Stakes, but his pedigree shows that he's going to be better at turf, on the dirt, and at longer distances. Aero Force may not be the best horse in this field, but he has been very impressive in both of his 2 starts, with Julien Leparoux aboard. And Aero Force is going to be very tough to beat. Probably the best of the Americans going into this race. And this race seems to not have much of a pace, and Aero Force is going to be close to the leaders. So, down the stretch, Aero Force could easily be leading them, forcing a lot of closers to chase a horse that finishes very strong. The one big factor, though, is the outer draw that he's getting. Aero Force is drawn 8th. Last time out was coming out of the 13th post at Keeneland, and did not like it early. However, now, going to the 8, it may help, but probably want to be drawn towards the inside. It's going to be a very difficult trip, especially with 2 closers right next to each other in Raise the Bar and Sky Marshall. Raise the Bar on the inside, Sky Marshall on the outside of Aero Force. If Aero Force can get out of the gate cleanly, he should have a fine trip. But coming from the outside, with what is going to be a pretty short run-up to the first turn, might be difficult for this horse. But if he can get away clean, if he can sit behind the leaders, Aero Force is going to be a very tough horse to beat. Another horse that's going to be tough is Hollywood Don. Hollywood Don can come out at price, and last race, just scratch it out of the books. It was on dirt. It really doesn't factor into what Hollywood Don can do. His 3 previous races were at Del Mar, which sometimes the Del Mar turf form doesn't really translate, but all were at a mile, which helps. The juvenile turf at Del Mar was a very impressive race, a strong closing kick. He can win from off the pace or up front. Hollywood Don is a very impressive son of Tappet and is going to be dangerous. He might be better on the dirt. He proved to be just a little bit worse than Nyquist and Swipe on his first chance on the dirt. And both Nyquist and Swipe are very tough 2-year-olds. But Hollywood Dawn can either sit right on the pace and be your pacemaker and still win, or at least be there at the end, or it can sit off the leaders and close late. Hollywood Dawn has a lot of different possibilities. I wonder where Joel Rosario will put him. Switch from Bryce Blanc could be an interesting play. Has been training decently leading up to this race. But my selections are going to be Aeroforce on top. I like Simric enough to put him there. Hollywood Dawn as my third choice and Raise the Bar, a long shot that has a chance in this juvenile turf. A few horses that I'm leaving out that could have a chance. Camelot Kitten, just don't think he's going to be his best at a mile. I think he's going to need a lot more distance than that, but is a horse to watch next year. Conquest Daddio, a strong win last time at Woodbine, but I don't think the Woodbine form is going to translate. The same reason why Sky Marshall is being left out. Birchwood coming over for Richard Fahey, and James Doyle, pretty good, but ran an even pace last time against much tougher. Trouble the race before. I just don't see a race in his form that is going to be good enough to win. I think his Newmarket race, Newmarket usually doesn't translate. You either love Newmarket or you hate Newmarket. Highland Sky really wasn't impressed with his performance in the Pilgrim. His maiden special weight doesn't really lead much to help. And Azar and Dresden Arame, both I just think are unsteady. I'm not confident in either of those. And being drawn to the inside might not help here. But those are my top 4: Aeroforce, Simric, Hollywood Dawn, and Raise the Bar. Moving on, next is the Dirt Mile with your morning line favorite Liam's Map coming out of the 3-post. He's sitting at even money for Todd Pletcher and Javier Castellano. I'm off Liam's Map. I don't think that he is good enough at a mile to win this race. I think he's going to have a lot of tough company with Red Vine. Red Vine, a little bit more of a mid-pack runner, could sit up closer to Liam's Map. But the big problem with Liam's Map is not just the mile, but how quick this pace is going to be early. Sitting with Liam's Map is going to be Mr. Z, as well as Valid. Both very strong front runners. And with Mr. Z, right off the pace is going to be Lee. 4 horses, they're going to be quick. It's going to be very quick early, entering that first turn. One of the horses that's going to be getting one of the better trips is Red Vine. He's going to sit about 3 to 4 lengths off the pace. And I'm going to think War Envoy for Aidan O'Brien is dangerous, and only his second start off of turf. His first start was on artificial, not on an actual dirt course. But I'm going to give him a shot here as well. Liam's Map, while he has shown very good races, quality races that are good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, at a mile, he's not his best. Liam's Map posted a 112 buyer running a mile in the 16th, but then showed up next for 106 at a mile. A big drop. Yes, it was an optional claimer, and a 106 in optional claimer is fantastic, but I just don't think that race truly shows who he is. The next time out, he was in the Whitney, lost to Honor Code by a neck, just kind of unlucky. And then got back with Javier Castellano to win impressively the Woodward at another mile and 8th race. I just wasn't impressed with his optional claiming win at a mile. His allowance wins or main special wins at a mile, not really the most impressive. And he hasn't really been tested early. I think most of the horses have left him pretty much alone by a length or 2 on the lead, and that has allowed him to just run on. Now that he's going to have a very very quick pace to race with. I just don't think he'll be able to handle this pace. And he's had a long layoff. He hasn't raced since September 5th. His training coming into Keeneland's decent, but not good enough to win this race. I am not going with Liam's Map in this race as one of my top picks. Next up, the 5-horse Lee. Lee's lightly raced this year, coming out of the Dubai World Cup, a third place finish behind Prince Bishop and California Chrome. Lee is a world-class horse. Was just a tough break in the Stephen Foster, handicapped by neck to Noble Bird. Wasn't really the best in the Whitney. Just bump start, basically lost it all, went wide a lot of the trip. So I discount that race. I don't think it shows who Lee really is. And the Woodbine Mile, scratch that off. It was on turf. It was just a test. A very good test, but wasn't truly what shows. Lee returns to the dirt mile that he prefers. Winner of the Hal Hope for the past 2 years, both at a mile, on what is a front-running favoring Gulfstream Park course. Was able to come off the pace last time out to win. Does lose Joao Rosario, has to pick up Jose Lezcano. A little bit of a drop down, but Lezcano has been pretty hot here at Keeneland, so I'm going to give a boost to the jockey change, while probably getting a lesser jockey in the national circuit is going to get a better jockey here at Keeneland. And Lee stalking this very hot pace will help. Is going to be better off this layoff. I didn't like Liam's Map off a layoff, but I like Lee off a layoff. I think Lee performs a lot better off layoffs than he does back to back. Just think Lee's a very live horse in this spot. Was supposed to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. Didn't get that chance. Could have been a Breeders' Cup Classic contender this year. Didn't get that chance again. But I think Dirt Mile fits Lee's a prime contender. But not my top pick. My top pick hasn't really done much this year, but it's in the form of Tapiture. Tapiture finished last year's Dirt Mile a length and a quarter second to Golden Sense, and has been racing against worse throughout this year, but isn't a horse I'm going to discount because of that. Completely scratch out the Cornhusker, got blinkers, just didn't like it. It wasn't who he really is. Last race was very determined in his win in the ACAC at Churchill Downs. The Lone Star Park handicap, just wasn't happy. Had a lot of trouble trip, bumped break. He was 5 wide in the Razorback. And he's had some trouble throughout the past few races. If he can get a trouble-free trip, or at least break well, Tapiture is going to be dangerous. He hasn't shown the speed that he did last year, but I'm not going to discount him on that. He also performs the best at a mile. He's never been out of the money when racing at this distance. His last time at a mile was in the ACAC, and that was a win. I'm just not going to discount him. Very dangerous. My top pick here is Tapiture. I like Red Vine on the rail. He's going to sit a very good mid-pack trip. War Envoy for Aidan O'Brien had one race that wasn't on the turf, and that was the Patent Stakes earlier this year at Dundalk. And it was a second place finish by a length to Convergence. He was very one pace late, but I think return to a non-turf surface, going to a dirt surface now, may help. Does have Warfront on the sire side. Is going to be at play. And had a decent first workout at Keeneland. Do I think he's a win caliber horse? No. But you get Ryan Moore. Ryan Moore, not a dirt jockey, but he's testing out the dirt. Getting a license to race over in Hong Kong, and he has some success over in Japan. I think you have to look at War Envoy as a possible horse. Aiden O'Brien entered this horse into the dirt mile for a reason. He probably thinks this horse will run better on the dirt than if he went for the mile, which is going to be a tough race no matter what. But Warren Voigt, I'm going to use him. I'm going to use Lee, but at the bottom of my supers, I like Lee, but I don't think that he'll get the true trip that he wants. He's going to be a lot closer than he should be. If he does sit back to about mid-pack where Red Vine should be, then I'll move Lee up. But I'm going to put Lee at my 4th selection just based on being way too close to the pace early on. Moving on is the Juvenile Fillies Turf. We already had one defection tin-type gal, which allows the also eligible time and motion to draw into the field, and that will have Mike Smith aboard for time and motion. The morning line favorite right now is Harmonize for Belmont and Junior Alvarado. Harmonize, a very, very strong winner. Probably winning the best prep all fall in the Jessamine. Definitely go back and watch that race. Another horse coming in for Richard Hannon is Illuminate. I'm looking at Thrilled first. Thrilled was a second to the Scratch Tin type gal and right above the also eligible draw in time and motion last time out in the Miss Grillo. Thrilled did beat Harmonize in her first start. Harmonize, though, would get the best of Thrilled in the PG Johnson at Saratoga. Thrilled hasn't raced since the Miss Grillo, but just got unlucky a second by a nose. I thought Thrilled was very impressive. Dropping down in distance is going to help this trip. And as a horse to use, you have Giants Causeway on the dam side. You got Uncle Mo on the sire side, which is going to show a good amount of speed. Whether or not this horse is best on turf is to be determined, but definitely a use here. And has been racing against quality horses. John Velasquez will put this horse with a big chance to win, and Todd Pletcher, of course, will get this horse in prime position. The workouts as of late, especially that October 22nd workout from Keeneland, very, very impressive. Just think a must use. Major improvements overall. Next up is the morning line favorite in Harmonize. Watch that Jessamine again. The Jessamine was one of the most impressive wins I've seen. Just had an awful break. Decided to sit back instead of the forwardly place like she was in the PG Johnson, and her maiden her maiden race, which she finished second by a nose. Just went 8 wide on the turn to just demolish the field. Yes, it was by a neck, but was about 4.5 lengths back, 4.5 lengths ahead of the rest of the field. Sapphire Kitten was a closer. Sapphire Kitten is going to be drawn right to the inside of Harmonize, so do watch out for Sapphire Kitten. The outer post will help Harmonize. She's been drawn towards the inside all 3 races. I think she'll prefer the outside. If she does sit off the lead like she did last time and close, be careful. This horse is very skillful and deserving of the morning line favoritism. Harmonize, one of my better bets for the weekend. Will it prefer the drop in distance? I hope. At the mile distance, she has had the lead all 3 times. If she does close, I'll be a little worried about it being at a mile, but she does have a win at Keeneland. So I think she's just a very strong horse. Honestly, should she have been undefeated? Yes. She just didn't get the best of trips. Very close to the rail in her maiden. A little bit green, but very impressive. This Keeneland could be a big romp here. Definitely my best bet. And then Illuminate for Richard Hannon. Now, Illuminate is going to be getting Frankie Dettori, who is just a monster jockey when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. Loves racing here. She's going to be getting a weight break. The last time she had a weight break was in the allowance race that she had, her first race, where she was carrying only 117. She's been carrying 126 the last 3 times, now dropping to 122. Very impressive in the Duchess and Cambridge Stakes. It was a very tough race to win. I was impressed with how she was in the Cheveley Park Stakes. Just unlucky against Lumiere. Tough horse. And will be close to these leaders in a race that's lacking pace. She'll appreciate going from 6 furlongs to a mile. Another tough horse. It's a very wide open race. I think all the juvenile races are wide open, but especially the juvenile fillies turf. I'm going to be using Harmonize on top. I like Sapphire Kitten based on Jessamine. Harmonize is my top pick. I have to use Sapphire Kitten. Just a short loss. I like Thrilled a lot. And then Illuminate, another horse to use. I think you could say Catch a Glimpse. Possible use. You get Florence Giroux, who's just been a hot jockey this whole year and is pretty good at Keeneland on the turf. 10 wins on 92 runs. Doesn't really make me want to use him. But Catch a Glimpse, definitely a strong filly. But does the Woodbine form translate? I'm not so sure. Getting a 91 buyer last time out. If this track has a little bit give in the ground, Catch a Glimpse will jump up into my top 4. Alright, finishing out the day is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Sadly, there was the defection of Untappable after she drew a fever, but that gives Wedding Toast a little bit higher of a use here. But at what use? Wedding Toast seems to be a Belmont specialist. I'm not a huge fan of her in this spot. While I think she should be included in some tickets, I'm not going to include her. I'm not going to include most of this field. Just some of the horses that I don't really like going from the inside out. Frivolous, Salama, Stop Charging Maria, My Sweet Addiction, Wedding Toast, Stellar Wind, Yahila, Warren's Veneta, and Peace and War who draws in off of the defection. I just think a lot of this field is just a step below where they need to be to win. I thought Untappable could have easily ran away with this field if she was in this. Warren's Veneta is, out of the horses that are still in, Warren's Veneta is the only one who actually has a race on her form that is good enough to win this race. You need about a 148, 147 finish of a mile and 1/8 to win the Breeders' Cup Distaff. She does have that, the Santa Margarita, back in March, but she hasn't shown that form since then. She's been taking a lot of step downs. Just don't think she's the same horse. I'm looking at I'm a Chatterbox on the rail. For most of the season, I haven't liked her. I just thought she just got lucky. I didn't love the Fairgrounds form. She showed that her form wasn't all that good in the Kentucky Oaks. A third to Lovely Maria by 3 3/4 lengths. But then over the summer, she's just been very, very strong. A win before being disqualified in the Coaching Club American Oaks. A second by a length and a quarter in the Alabama. And then a huge win in the Cotillion by 2 lengths. The Cotillion, a very strong prep for the Distaff. Many horses do use that Parks prep. I'm a Chatterbox is a horse that I'm going to use for the first time this year. And she's been racing in a pretty good pace. Getting Florence Giroux, is going to be stalking this pace. My one complaint, though, is that this is her first time facing older horses. Is she going to struggle? Perhaps. But I'm going to take this chance on her and say she will have enough to win this race. She's been a very consistent filly. and is deserving of a lot of credit. Moving over to Carolina, the horse that finished second to her, although placed first in the Coaching Club American Oaks. She just lost to Wedding Toast after a stumble start. I'm going to count the Beldame as a very strong effort. Wedding Toast is a Belmont specialist, so in my eyes, Carolina ran the best race. And of all the horses, alongside Catch My Drift, the third in the Alabama, I can understand, a little bit long for her. She's going to prefer the mile and an eighth. The Coaching Club American Oaks, a very impressive race. Just barely losing to I'm a Chatterbox on the track. But the Acorn at a mile, impressive. Carolina has put a lot together. And now going to get Joel Rosario aboard. Joel Rosario, a little bit of a better jockey here at Keeneland than John Velasquez is. A must-play in any of your exotics, and is going to appreciate the pace here. That should be a little bit hot on the front end, but enough that a stalker like Carolina should go by easily. And has been training well here at Keeneland. I think Carolina is a must-use. Has been showing some decent buyers. I think the buyer figures are a little bit low than what they should be. I think her races were a little bit more impressive than the buyer figures tell. I'm going to use her. I also like Sheer Drama. I put a little bit less on Sheer Drama because she got the outside post. I don't really like the outside post at Keeneland, but she is 5 for 6 in the money at the distance, coming off of a strong win in the Personal Ensign. While most horses I don't like a long layoff, she is coming in fresh. I'm going to use her. She is a strong horse. Joe Bravo, just a jockey that is a globetrotter across the country. He can win just about anywhere on any horse. And she's a strong finisher. She has bested Untappable. She's bested Wedding Toast. She's bested Frivolous. She's bested Got Lucky. Those are all 4 really good horses. She's just found new light ever since going past a mile. The one bad race she had was at Prescott Downs. I scratched that off. Artificial. Basically, since as far as the form can go, since her debut, basically been a solid horse since Joe Bravo got aboard. Just can't discount this horse anytime she runs. She's going to probably finish either first or second. She's defeated very good horses, and she's won from going wide. She's been 3 wide, 2 wide, 4 wide. She's faced a lot of trouble. Bumped early. She had a steady. I just think Sheer Drama is going to be a very tough horse to beat here. And I made her my top pick alongside Carolina. I also like Calamity Kate at a price. Kelly Breen has had this horse going well. Last two times out, just a 2-length loss to I'm a Chatterbox in the Cotillion, winner of the Delaware Oaks. I scratched that Acorn race out. I don't think she had the best of starts. Bumped start, trouble trip. Change of jockey really helped. This is a horse that is going to be tough. And I'm going to use I'm a Chatterbox on the inside. One of the big plays of Friday is the multi-weight wager, the $1 pick 4. And here's my pick 4 ticket. I'm going to start off in race 6. I'm going to go 6 deep because I think that the juvenile turf is just that tough of a race. I'm going to use Highland Sky, Birchwood, Raise the Bar, Aero Force, Simric, and Hit a Bomb. Hoping to get a price here. Will I? Possibly. But my big price is going to come in the Dirt Mile. I use Red Vine. I use Liam's Map because while I don't think he's going to win necessarily, I'm using him as a safety because who knows? Maybe he'll love the fast pace and just run past everyone. I don't know. He hasn't really had this hot, deadly pace before. Who knows what could happen. I'm going to use Lee, and I'm going to definitely use my top pick in Tapature. Going into race 8 is the Juvenile Fillies Turf. And here, I'm just going to use my top picks. Harmonize and Illuminate. Both very solid horses. Harmonize coming from way off the pace as a closer, and Illuminate as a stalker. I think if both of them get the trips that they should get, either of them have a chance. So I think I'm safe there. And then race 9, I'm just going to have a single sheer drama. I don't want to make this ticket cost too much. I think it could pay, especially if I can get a price in race 6 and 7. I think it's going to be a very chalky race 8. And race 9, while I think sheer drama is going to be low on the tote board, I'm going to say around maybe 4 to 5 to 1. In the pick 4 is probably going to be treated more like a 2 to 1 shot. So I think if I can get a price race 6 and a price race 7, or maybe just one of those races, although I think race 7 is definitely where the price play is going to come in. I think a lot of people are going to single Liam's map. I think a lot of people are going to leave Lee alone, leave Red Vine alone, especially leave Tapature alone. I'm going to get a price on at least one of those. If any of those wins, this pick 4 could pay a lot. Definitely the top play to have in Breeders' Cup Friday. Last year, the Friday card was pretty chalky. Pick 4 did not pay all that much. This year, though, with the absence of Untappable, with not really any single that is super reliable, this pick 4 could pay well. And pad your bankroll to what will be a very exciting Saturday card. So thank you for listening to the Breeders' Cup 2015 Friday card preview presented by Horse Racing Station. Stay tuned later in the week for the Saturday preview, as well as all my analysis on the Breeders' Cup picks, as well as tickets for the pick 4 and the pick 6 on Saturday. Thanks so much. Have a nice night.